So this all happened really recently. It all started 4 weeks ago today. 4 weeks ago, the Pro-Vice-Chancellor for Teaching and Learning came to meet with Paul Tobin, the President, and I over at the Students' Union, and told us that in the Senate meeting, which was going to be the following Wednesday, which is 3 weeks ago today, they were going to be discussing a paper put forward by a review group to close biblical studies. It's the first we'd heard of it. It's our smallest department. It has just under 90 undergraduate students, so it's a really small department. Having said that, it's a unique department. It's the only department in the country that is biblical studies. It's not theological studies, it's not theology. It's unique to our country. I think it's unique to Europe as well. So we were completely shocked. However, we were told we weren't allowed to discuss this until Senate papers came out on the Monday. So Paul and I started doing a lot of research into whether this made sense and whether this added up. Because like Liz has said, it's kind of about making sure that it suits the university and it kind of makes sense and suits the students. And we started to realise that it didn't. Students that study biblical studies, religious studies, theology in secondary schools, so if you know, but the numbers have shot up over the last 5 years, so this just didn't match. Also, figures that we've been shown in that meeting didn't make sense. It looked like the decision of the Senate meeting had been kind of preempted by the review group, and they were not replacing staff that had retired, for example, in the previous 2 or 3 years. So things just weren't making sense to us. But we were told that there'd been a consultation process. It said in the Senate papers that staff knew about it, faculty staff, department staff, support staff, students. So we were told not to talk about it with students until the Monday. On the Monday afternoon, we had a meeting with students. It was 5 p.m. on the Monday afternoon. We just wanted to make sure we were representing their views in the Senate on that Wednesday. We got a ridiculous amount of students. I'd say probably about 90% of the students in the department were crammed into the room we booked, and also staff from the department, which we didn't understand. And it suddenly became very clear that they had absolutely no idea this was happening and there'd been no consultation at all. So Paul and I panicked in a big way, faced with a lot of very angry students, and we didn't really know the ins and outs of the situation. So all we could do was write down their concerns, write down their questions, and tell them that they needed, or we needed together to start a campaign on this very quickly. So that was on the Monday at 5 p.m. The Senate meeting was on the Wednesday, so we had less than 48 hours to come up with a campaign. And it sounds like Liz's campaign in Liverpool was quite structured, and there was a bit of time to organise things with less than 48 hours, and it was all a bit of a panic. So Paul and I stayed up very late on that Monday night and wrote a list of kind of people that need to be contacted. UCU, staff, students, academics from across the world, because we knew there's been a lot of academics come from all sorts of places. I think America, Australia, Korea. There's been so many academics come from other countries that we needed to contact. The press, obviously members of the church, Sheffield Chaplaincy Service, NUS. We knew that the Bishop of Sheffield was quite heavily involved with the department, and also Christian unions. So we sat up quite late that night sorting things out. And then by the Tuesday morning, it turned out that the students had done a lot of this themselves. They'd already set up a website, they'd already set up a Facebook group, they'd got the email address of the Vice-Chancellor out to everyone around the world, apparently. So before the Senate meeting, he'd already had about 100 emails about it. By that weekend, he'd had to set up another email account to deal with all the emails he was getting over it. And he had to employ staff for that week. He'd had to bring in someone he'd got for 2 days a week to come in over the weekend and go through all these emails because they were really clogging up his inbox. So all the things that Liz has talked about happened, but very, very rushed and very frantically. By the Wednesday of Senate, the entire department was outside our university building where we hold Senate. University press was there, local media were there, and I agree with you, being clapped into Senate is very strange. And you all know Paul Tory is a bit of a celebrity, especially in Sheffield, so you can imagine the reception he got. The outcome at Senate was even more shocking than what we'd heard from the students. The room, I'd guess there's about 100 people that sit on the Senate, possibly, and there was probably 4 or 5 people in the room that knew about it. No one really knew what was going on. A lot of people had no idea of the closures, had no idea of the outcome of the review group. So there was a lot of angry faces in there, and just a lot of kind of conflicting the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the faculty was saying, we've done this consultation, and then staff in the room was saying, well, no, you haven't, because that's me, and I don't know anything about it. And something that's also worth mentioning is, in the last academic year, our faculties were given a lot more power than they've had previously. So the Pro-Vice Chancellor of each faculty has quite a lot of power and doesn't necessarily have to answer to the Vice-Chancellor as regularly as he has done in previous years. And actually it turns out that's quite important in kind of the outcome of this. So there was no decision made in that Senate other than to not make a decision. They decided that they couldn't, originally they wanted us to decide in that Senate meeting whether we were going to go with the review group's recommendations and close the department or not. It was decided that no decision would be made. Within 24 hours an email went out to students. I'd like to say it was apologetic. It wasn't really apologetic. It was just explaining that actually consultation hadn't happened in the way that the Vice-Chancellor thought it had, and this would start happening. Immediately kind of focus groups were set up, and a few key members of the review group started meeting with students, and it became clear, again quite shockingly, that the students had no idea, it didn't make sense to them. Okay, so then 2 weeks ago today, the Pro-Vice Chancellor resigned, and it all came out that he'd made a lot of decisions on the university's behalf, and the Vice-Chancellor didn't actually know very much about it. So just something that I think is really key that we learned, and we really had to learn on our feet on this, and it was the steepest learning curve ever, and I think Paul and I are only now catching up on sleep from that sort of 3-week period, or 2-week period really it was, is just make sure that when course closures come up, because they are going to come up so much now, and I've just received papers this week that are suggesting in a meeting I'm sitting in tomorrow, there's going to be more course closures suggested. Make sure that the numbers match up, because that's something that Paul and I originally, there was alarm bells that these figures weren't matching up. There's more demand for this department, and yet we're being told that there's not enough demand for this department by the university. We're being told that people aren't interested, and yet we know that it's a unique department to our country. So just make sure that things add up. Make sure that what students are telling you and what you can find out yourself out of your own research is what the university is saying. Because if those two things don't match up, that's when you realise that there's something very odd going on, and that maybe there isn't a need for closure, and then that's when the campaigning needs to kick in. I think I'll leave it there. Okay, so we'll have a couple more unions very quickly, and then we'll go to a couple of questions, and then I promise everyone will get to go and sort of wash up and get ready for the night ahead. So could I have Tommy from Reading to quickly talk about their experience as well?
Hi everyone. Liz came to me about an hour ago, so I've just done some very brief notes about what's been happening at Reading. It's quite complex, so I'll go into a bit of history about our course closures. Reading's got a great background for continuous closures of courses for the last few years, starting with music in 2005, physics in 2006, continuing education department in 2007, and health and social care in 2008. So as a team of new staffs coming into the job, we were quite ready to get our battle gear on and start fighting the Vice-Chancellor outside his office for what's going to close this year. We actually have quite a good relationship with our senior management board in that we meet quite regularly. We have quite open dialogues, quite open communication lines. So very early on in the job, in August time, we sat down with both Gordon Marshall, our VC, and Tony Downs, our deputy VC, and had discussions about where we're going this year at university, what we're doing. And they both confirmed to us separately that there are no closures planned this year. We're quite confident that although we've got a £10 million deficit and we're cutting departments by 5% in each directorate, we're not closing anything. So naively we took that as read and said, oh, thanks